There's something I need to discuss with everyone because I just wanted to set a good or a clean slate and be very direct with everyone watching the channel and reading the things I put out, which is a few things that I want to discuss is our Faceless YouTube channel is a scam. Um, a lot of people claim they don't actually work, that YouTube will clamp down on them, that they're stealing from normal creators, that you're exploiting YouTube and that it won't last. And then there's some other questions that I often get in the comment sections of podcasts and whatnot. Like, if you're so successful, why sell a course? Or why do I share, all this information if you found such a gold mine? Well, I'll explain it in this video. And I just want to basically pin this video to every single video that I make from here on out, just so everyone has a very clear understanding what the reality is behind running a faceless YouTube channel. Because I think a lot of people who, make the videos about like, oh yeah, does faceless YouTube channels actually work? They try it for one video and they do some low effort AI kind of channel, and obviously it flops and they conclude it's a scam. Now, I'm not saying that the industry is perfect and that everything that you see is completely legit. That's not true. So I'll just get started with debunking a couple of very common misconceptions. That faceless YouTube is something that's super easy. Let me start out with saying, if you're coming into Faceless YouTube thinking this is a get-rich-quick thing, and that you're just gonna barge in with zero experience or a little bit of experience and start a channel and it's gonna blow up and you're gonna earn tens of thousands of dollars, even though it might seem like that in my videos, and I will try to be more transparent about that in following videos. I try to be as transparent as possible. But if you think you're just going to come into this industry and just outcompete people who've been doing it for years, or just outcompete normal creators who've mastered their craft, in decades sometimes, that's just not going to happen, right? It is a relatively fast business model, as in, let's say you start a restaurant, right? My father, for example, he owns a small restaurant in the Netherlands. And I mean, those type of businesses will make $100,000 a year profit, or less than that. And it takes 4 years or 3 years to break even from the point of, starting that business. And sure, there will always be outliers, as in like people that blow up super quickly. I wasn't one of them. I wasn't an overnight success, even though, I mean, many of the podcasts that have been made about me obviously give crazy claims. Like if you look here, it's like, oh, he made $500,000 in 90 days. He made, 2 million. He made X amount. I mean, I have no control on the podcast packaging, but I'll kind of get into that a bit later about the transparency behind those podcasts. Because again, it's kind of hard to retroactively, after a podcast has been posted, it's kind of hard to then reply to everyone in the comment section and go, yeah, you're wrong. Because everyone makes assumptions. That's the problem. They see, a 1 hour or 10-minute video about you or about the industry, about the faceless industry, and they jump to conclusions, right, based on what they've seen before, without, reading the things I've personally put out or really researching how the industry functions, right? And that's something that really bothers me, because people really jump to conclusions without, doing proper research. So just to get started, is Faceless YouTube a scam? It's not a scam. The business model works. However, it does get misrepresented quite a lot. So it gets made out to be very easy, which it's not. It's really something that should be taken seriously. It takes a lot of time, discipline, effort. Most people only succeed after trying for 1 or 2 years. And I think as far as I've seen with people in my community, people across the industry, I think the success rate of getting to maybe 5 or 6K a month is like maybe 10% or lower. But this is very common across any business. In any business, 90% fails, if not more, right? A very large majority of people fail. So um, you have to keep that in mind because a lot of people just don't either have the time or maybe the resources or the interest to, really put their best foot forward and work in this industry for at least a couple years in order to succeed. Because it's really a skill you have to master. So um, is it a scam? No, it works. I mean, if it was a scam, then there wouldn't be an entire industry on YouTube with all these faces channels. Like a very large majority of channels you see, and I'll just go through a very long list right here. And I'm not promoting my software here. I'm just showing you a list of faces channels. So let me show you. I mean, if you look here, all these channels, all of these are all faceless YouTube channels. There are thousands, or if not tens of thousands of them. And people will still say it doesn't work, right? So it's hard, don't get me wrong, it's super hard, and a lot of people fail. That's true. But it does work. I mean, it's proven to work. You can verify this. Those channels are publicly available on YouTube. Sometimes people even watch these channels without knowing that they are faces channels, right? So that's something you really, really have to keep in mind. So the next thing I want to address, and I'll get back into more detail later, is kind of talking about the success rate. Yes, I do think a very large proportion of people who try fail, and that comes down to a whole lot of reasons. But the thing that really frustrates me is that whenever I go on a podcast, right, there's very limited contact. So I'd like to add a lot of nuance, but often there's a lot of editing in podcast or shorter videos, which kind of makes it hard to give a nuanced answer. So, for example, when a podcast title says he made $500,000 in 90 days, that's true. However, um, it's not always going to be $500,000 in 90 days. That's just not the case. The business, just like any business, fluctuates. And especially YouTube Faceless is an extremely unstable business model. And that's just the reality of things, right? So yes, you have evergreen channels, but I would argue that a majority of YouTube channels make very inconsistent revenue without outside income sources. So you'll have channels that blow up and make a lot of money in a very short period of time, and you can live with that for the rest of the year. I've had channels doing 120K in a month, and if you want to, you can live with that for the rest of the year, right? So really, but for the rest of the year, it could be the case that you're back at 10K or 15K, right? Obviously, it differs from person to person how much that revenue goes up and down. But to be transparent, for example, in May of last year, I did over $300,000 in revenue, and January this year, I'm at 30K, right? So this idea of that is presented in these podcasts of you know that I'm always earning 350K is just not true, obviously. But it's hard to kind of nuance that when you're in such a podcast. And really, I would, if you don't believe me, try to go on one of these podcasts. They usually invite you. And you'll see it's really hard to get out a nuanced opinion. And usually when people just watch the podcast or just watch a very small part even, everyone jumps to conclusions. And that's quite... it's quite sad to see that no one kind of delves deeper. And I think it's also the reason they jump to conclusions is because then again, a lot of people feel threatened by the business model. But I would argue actually faceless channels aren't that much different from regular creators. So that's the next thing I wanted to address. So a lot of people claim that faceless channels are basically low effort content and stealing from regular creators. Now, if you watch my last two videos, you'd see that all the content in there is all original, right? Obviously, yes, you can start a compilation channel, and yes, at that point, you are taking footage from somewhere else and you're putting it together into a video. But usually, for a very large part of the channels, these are not coming from regular YouTube creators. We're like most of the Faces channels, and sure, there are some bad apples, and I do not condone that at all, but most of the content is coming from established sources, right? So, for example, when I did the court cam niche, those are all either coming from, court records, or there's some TV news channels that publish these court videos or court moments, right? So, yeah, it's usually not normal creators. And then second of all, I usually hear people say like, oh yeah, it's AI slop. I personally, and I keep having to say this, I don't use AI in any of my channels currently. Not an AI voiceover, not an AI thumbnail, nothing. It's all made by humans, right? So another thing I hear often coming from normal creators is it's low effort content, right? So here's something I want you to think about. So sure, on my end, or in terms of time for me, the content might be low effort because I don't put a lot of my personal effort into actually, or time into producing said videos. However, if you think about it, the time it takes a normal creator to create a video is the same amount of time it takes for a team to create a video. However, it's just distributed over different people. So there's still effort put into a video. However, it's just distributed across multiple people, right? So it's not low effort content. It's just that the owner of said channel isn't the one putting in the effort into the videos. That's the team. And then I hear a lot of people being very angry about that. But the problem is, this model of kind of like production or faceless shows, right, has been around since the start of TV. What is a TV show? Whenever you watch a reality TV show, who do you think owns the shows? They're not there on set, personally filming the shows. They're just sitting in a boardroom, right, coming up with new shows and what the next episode should be or something like that. The people actually putting in the creativity are the team members, camera people, script writers, the actors. These types of people are putting in the effort. And that doesn't mean a TV show is low effort. It just means that it's a combined effort of a lot of people, right? But it seems on the surface that these videos are low effort just because they're made by multiple people and they get produced very fast. But that doesn't mean they're low effort. However, obviously, you have low quality as well. But I would argue 90% of YouTube is very low quality content. That's just how it works, right? It always, if you look at the distribution of views on YouTube, you would see that the 99% of the views goes to the top 10% of creators. And that's because they put out quality. And the rest is lower effort, lower quality content. And another thing I often hear is like, it's soulless, there's no passion behind it. And I don't think that's also true. Because that's like saying or watching a TV show and going, oh well, because the owner of this TV show or this TV channel isn't super passionate about this sad reality TV show, there's no passion put into this content or this type of media. That's not true. You have an entire team of people. When you say that, there's an entire team of people producing these videos and putting time and effort into it, and you're saying there's no passion, but the passion is coming from the team members. And it's the same as any movie, any reality TV show, and that's something you have to keep in mind. So moving on, I do want to address a couple things. So will YouTube clamp down on faceless content? And obviously, as things evolve, YouTube might clamp down on certain sections of faceless content, but they're not all of a sudden one day gonna wake up and say, okay, we're gonna ban all the channels without a face on it. I just don't see that happening in the near future. I've spoken to YouTube employees. They are aware of faceless channels, and sure, there are a lot of really crappy like AI faceless channels, or really like shit content, where they're exploiting kids or sexualizing kids content. That's also not a good thing. These things should 100% be removed from YouTube. But in general, YouTube is aware of faceless channels. It makes up a very big part of their platform. And I just don't see them clamping down on the model anytime soon. What is a problem, however, is that YouTube income is just very inconsistent. And I've mentioned this before. You know, every month it can go up and down depending how many views you're getting, what the season is. Maybe you get a copyright claim, or maybe, you know, you're in a risky niche and YouTube decides, okay, we don't condone political videos coming from a Faces channel, so we'll shut them down. I mean, this will influence your revenue. So it's a full-time job, just because you always have to diversify the type of niches and content you're in, right? So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, here's a big one that people always ask me, and they always say, oh yeah, wait, by the way, I saw this comment come by on my personal channel, and I thought it was quite a interesting one, so I'll respond to it here. So this, basically I saw this comment, and I thought this was a really good opportunity to kind of explain this for the future. So I'll just read it out to you. So this guy failed to mention he gets a lot of these exploit channels. First of all, they're not exploited channels. There's a lot of, the channel featured in this video was not an exploited channel. It's just a Faces channel. A lot of other regular creators are making the exact same content. A lot of these exploit channels get demonetized. No, this channel is still monetized. The elections were just over. Having to deal with headaches of copyright strikes. Very rarely, yes, it does happen, especially if you're running a lot of channels in different niches with different partners who you sometimes don't have control over. Yeah, copyright strikes can be a problem. That's true. He's not really transparent about this. I think I'm relatively transparent. I think there's a lot of gurus that will never tell you the success rate. They will never show you the channels they've built. They'll never make a video like this. And I'm not saying I'm some saint. I'm not trying to convince you that. But all I'm saying is I'm not here to really, you know, hype up or make it better than it is. Like, I just like the business model as it really is, right? And I don't have to pretend otherwise. It's just a good business model regardless of its flaws. Every business model has its flaws, right? And then he tries to sell you his magical $600 course. This is an argument a lot of people, I'm not sharing my screen. So here's the comment. He tries to sell you his magical $600 course. So this is an argument a lot of people use, like, oh yeah, if you're selling a course, you're automatically, you know, either not legit, you're not earning any money, or you know, you're trying to make it better than it really is. And I mean, I don't want to make it better than it really is, because I'll kind of explain why I'm making these videos and where I'm coming from. So back in 2022, I went to an event called Fit Summit, and I was there with a friend who had a presence on Twitter at the time. And I was at the event, and this is the first time I've ever been to America. Yeah, kind of the first time I've officially been in America. And we were there, and basically, because he just had like 3,000 followers or something on Twitter, and everyone knew this guy, and he was talking to all these really big YouTubers, and he was making great connections, and there were deals coming his way, and you know, the people were sharing insights and lessons with him, and it was just I just saw that and was like, wow, that's super valuable. So back in 2022, I started to make a Twitter page, just talking about, you know, the channels I was running and the strategies I was leveraging. That's what I did. You can go back in time, check it out. I just started tweeting about it. Before that, I was making tweets about Minecraft Pocket Edition. And from there on out, what started happening was people kept asking me for a course. And for the longest time, I was like, I'm not going to sell a course. But I mean, if you get asked enough times, you're like, I mean, if you really want one, like, why not, right? I mean, and then I'll come back to that gold mine principle of like, why teach people how to do this if it's such a gold mine. So just to go back, a lot of people were asking to sell a course, and I think anyone in that position, even it doesn't matter if you're earning 150K a month. I mean, it's just people saying like, oh, I'd like to give you money, basically. And that's really basically what people were asking. And I was like, okay, well, if you want to learn, I'm not going to force anyone to buy the course. And again, everything that I'm teaching in the course, you can find online for free. You don't have to buy it. I really don't care if you do. I mean, I do say the same thing on the course landing page. Like, you don't have to buy it. If you're not going to stick around for a long time, or if you're not going to take this serious, just don't bother buying the course. Just try learning everything for free. You don't need a course. It's really not necessary. However, I mean, it's just a good passive income. The courses are a great business model. I mean, you shoot it once and you put it up on a landing page. I don't even have to promote the course. I mean, it's just there. Like, and sometimes people buy it, and it's just passive income. I mean, it doesn't cost me any time, right? And then coming back to like why sell a course. So it's basically passive income. It's a really good business model. And it helps stabilize that revenue. Like I said, YouTube is very up, down. And I mean, it cost me maybe a week or two to shoot the course. And from there on, it's like an extra revenue source. Like, why wouldn't you do it, right? And the reason, and then coming back to that gold mine principle, which the guy argues here, he goes like, okay, so he says YouTube will clamp down on faceless exploit, and then he says, oh, the irony. I said like what I mentioned here in this comment. I said like, well, I mean, it seems like you aren't very well read into what I do and what I've said before. So I mean, it seems like you're kind of jumping to an assumption. So if you read the next comment, he goes, oh, the irony, every bit of advice conveniently links back to your $600 course, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't. I haven't mentioned my course in maybe a couple months. You can check my check my Twitter. You can check. I don't post any like student results going like, oh, this guy earned so much money because he joined my course. I haven't done that. I haven't mentioned it in any of my previous videos. I've mentioned my software. I did, yeah. I mentioned my software, but not my course. And then he goes, let me be clear. I'm not trapped in your little maze of deception. Bro thinks he's the main character. I can see exactly what you're doing. You're not here to help. You're here to sell a dream with your hyped up videos, hooking all the newbie sheep who think they've stumbled upon a financial windfall with this method you presented. Like I said before, it's not financial windfall. This stuff is hard. It's building a business. So if you think this is easy, click off the video. Don't ever come back to Faceless channels. Do not buy my course. It's just not going to work out for you. Like, again, like 90% of people fail. Like I said before, and I mentioned and have tweeted this out, I think like 20 times, but people just don't just jump to conclusions. They don't read into what you've said before, right? They only watch one video and they go like, oh yeah, you make it seem super easy in this video. Yes, I'm just rambling in videos, right? So sometimes I say something that's maybe too overhyped because I'm excited, but that's why I'm linking this video in every comment from here on out, right? So yeah, this guy goes, rinse, blah, 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 I'm misguiding people, rinse and repeat, and voila, you're profiting of their gullibility. Like I said, just don't buy anything from me, right? Just learn for free. If you have the money, you can. I'm not even going to link anything, but again, you don't have to buy anything. You can learn everything for free. I did that myself as well. You don't need a course. It's great. It's an easy structured way of learning, but most of the information out there I put out for free. So then again, I don't understand why people get so angry for me putting out free information. So if your method were truly the cash cow claim, why on earth would you sell it? So this comes back to that kind of like gold mine situation, right? So nobody actually finds a gold mine and sells the map, right? So I'll explain why. So why I basically sell a course, or why I teach people or give this information out for free. So first of all, and it's all for selfish reasons, by the way. Like, I don't make these videos for free. There's something that I benefit from these videos. And those things are, first of all, I get a great network. So I know most of the top creators in the Faceless space and a lot of really big, just regular creators through the content I've put out. Really great network. I can, if I need funding for any future company, if I need a good team, if I get into trouble with anything, I can always ask for advice, help. People are because I provide value, people are really eager to help me back, right? And that's a selfish reason, but it's true. So, and then second of all, why do I share information? Well, another thing is the cat's already out of the bag, right? Before I ever started making a personal brand, people were already making courses on YouTube automation. People were already sharing this business model. It's even without me. If you look at Google Trends, in the last couple, in the last couple years, right? If you look up YouTube automation, you should have a look at oh, how much this has blown up over the past 5 years. So as you can see, it's majorly popular. It's super big. And this doesn't come because of me. People know about it. People are already learning about it. Why why shouldn't I capture an extra income source for myself? Why shouldn't I diversify my portfolio and basically also earn money on the side by, having a software company, right? Or if people want to learn from me, why not have them, buy a course if they want to learn? Sure, I'll take it. I mean, that's just how it is, right? So that's another thing. And then lastly, why am I giving kind of the map to a gold mine, right? That's a good question. Like, am I not destroying my own business? So in truth, yes, it's been getting harder. I don't think personally my contribution. I think it maybe adds to 1% of the total saturation going up in the market, but it's kind of an inevitable trend. It's the same thing you saw with dropshipping. People are talking about it all over the place. It's going to happen inevitably. But why am I giving out free information for myself? It's just because, then again, it's good to build a community, and the market is so big, as in there's so many different niches, and I am pretty confident I can stay ahead of most people, right? So obviously I'm not sharing what I'm currently working on. What I'm sharing here is just past examples of channels I've worked on, right? What I'm currently working on is completely different from what I'm doing right now. Although they go by the same principles, I'm not sharing the things that are currently making me money, right? And if they ever die out in the future, I'll make a video about it and I'll show you what I did, so you can learn from that same process. However, I don't notice much effect from people coming into the market because I'm always innovating. I'm always on the move anyway, right? And to be fair, yes, there is something in it for me to make or to explain or to give value. So, that's first of all the network. It generates an extra side income. That's true. However, I'm not misrepresenting the business model. It's hard. Lastly, again, it doesn't. It doesn't really affect me. I haven't started earning less in the last couple years of me starting this. I've only started earning more with YouTube, quite frankly. And this business model will always develop. And the top 10% will most likely usually stay ahead of the curve. A lot of people are focused on AI content now. I'm doing something different. As long as you stay a couple steps ahead, it's not a problem for me, right? So why not grab the opportunity and make some extra side income and give people opportunity to go down the same path I did or learn from what I did. I also like talking about the industry. I've been doing this since I was 13. It's my lifelong passion. I love YouTube. I love the process, the industry, the people. It's all really nice. And yeah, just to sum it up, there's a lot in it for me, and I hope I can help some people with it. But I'm definitely not misrepresenting the business model. And I keep in mind, my main income will always be YouTube, right? Like the course and everything that's brought in is maybe 20%, 30% of what I earn on a monthly basis. Now it might be a bit more, maybe like 40 or so, just because my revenue has gone down in January. But that's just the reason why. It's simple as that. Again, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. And why wouldn't I? I mean, the cat's out of the bag regardless, right? So, um, like I said, just to sum it up, do not buy anything from me if you don't have the money. You don't have to buy the course or any software or anything to succeed. You can all do it by yourself. If you want, you can, but you don't have to. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to cover. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I'll respond in the comments if anyone has other questions about kind of like the reality of the faceless industry and the reason why we do certain things. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.